by the winner's circle. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Talking Horses. Sarah Obadwi and Andy Serling on an absolutely gorgeous day here at Aqueduct, a beautiful Saturday here. And you know, as you get a little farther away, it starts to feel a little bit like a dream that we were in Saratoga last weekend, right?
Absolutely. I mean, having to come back here and then it just feels like it almost never happened and lives in isolation is one of those things that I had a weird dream about. Like, I had a weird dream that Sierra Leone scratched from the Derby, and then another one about newspaper of record and like all kinds of...
Really? Newspaper of records coming in your dreams. That's pretty impressive.
Yep. Kingman as well.
Kingman?
Yes.
Wow. No, that's really...
That's how you know you spend way too much time on this.
I'll allow you to say that, and I'm not sure what exactly it means, but that's definitely part of it.
Something
there's no doubt
not
about
good.
it. Yeah, you know, it's actually kind of cool to be back here, and it's funny. There's a great picture out in the wall she talked about of Foolish Pleasure beating Foregoing Lord Roubeau in the 1976 Suburban, which I believe was the last time we raced at Aqueduct in the summer, and then it was until like the end of July, because I think that was a 4th of July race, before going to Saratoga. And you can just see the stands are packed, and there's just like 40 to 50,000 people there. And it's a great shot of Aqueduct in its heyday, sort of in the heyday times. And it's also a very, very great race, which I'm sure some people have seen. I think it's kind of cool being back here and knowing that we'll be back in Saratoga in just 4 weeks, less than 4 weeks, we'll be racing there. Anyway, we got lots to talk about, 11 races, so we'll get right to work. Head over to Naira Bets if you're not a member of Naira Bets. No better time than the present. Use the promo code MATCH200. We'll match the $200 of your initial deposit. I'm telling you, Sarah, we got to do something about that picture of Dylan. I don't know.
He looks a little too happy.
I'm going to tell Dylan to complain. I don't know. It's a funny picture. It doesn't really look like him.
No, it kind of looks like one of those
shadow
AI
or something. Yeah,
images.
I guess that's it. Well, also, when you're over at Naira Bets, check out Track Stats as well for more information. Check them out. Also, we have the contest. I think you have until like the third race today. Get out the information at nairabets.com/contest. Play it through Naira Bets, $300 buy-in cash and seat prizes. Always fun to play through Naira Bets. 11 race card today. We have a carryover in the pick six, 35,882. That'll kick off race number 6 of our 11 race card, which also features 3 pick 5s, right? There's a pick 5 in the 4th race. You know, we'll tell you that there's another pick 4, but there's also a 3rd pick 5, a mandatory payout, and that begins race 4 through 8. What else do we have today? I think there's a trifecta bonus, by the way. Check out at Naira Bets. I think there's like a 20% trifecta bonus here in Monmouth. Check it out. I saw something on Twitter, so check that out. We also have a pick 5 stake races. The Better Roses here, 4 stakes at Monmouth, including the Naira Bets Pegasus. That kicks off 4:55. All those races will be on America's Day at the Races, which will be on from 12:30 until 6:30 on FS2. Race number 1. Ironman Ira and Sorority Prank ran 2-3 back here on May 11th. And by post time, these odds are going to be much different. Ironman Ira, who I picked on top, is going to be odds on in all likelihood. We can roll that video, guys. Ironman Ira runs back to his last race. He's going to win this race in all likelihood. He's the main speed. He draws well on the outside with Irad. I think Hagrid's Flame is a little bit interesting. I kind of liked him a little last time, and he didn't run badly. He comes out of that key race 2 races back. He's the only one that I would use in here. I chalked it out. You went to a first-time starter that I think is highly unlikely to be anywhere near the price he is currently.
And that's what I'm hoping, because that would be a little bit insane. And then clearly somebody knows something that I don't, because there's no reason that horse should be that priced. But of the horses that have run before, this is obviously the horse that makes a ton of sense coming into this spot. I know that we were
He was good last time. He really was.
I know we were both a little suspect of him when he finished second.
I didn't like him at all last time. I was dead
but
wrong.
Then he ran very well in that last race. And Russian Realm was a horse who won, who was coming out of a race that
it's a favorite.
Had a pretty solid field. So I think it's just, I'm really tired of Sorority Prank. He's had his opportunities. You could argue that he's gotten better as of late.
Do you think he's tired of you? I mean, it's a little harsh on poor Sorority Prank, don't you think?
I have talked about him a lot, so he's probably all set with me.
Okay. Think you're watching Talking Horses now?
Yeah, he's looking at
I can't take first-time starting 3-year-olds going a mile in these races too often, but what's going on with this horse?
Well, this one seems like his last work was that bullet 4 furlong move with time out, who we're going to see later on today. Those were the two that had that workout that matched on the Saratoga training track and for the same trainer.
Without workout reports, though, how relevant is that? You know what I mean? I'm not. I'm just wondering
If I
because a
like
lot
the
of
horse
times
later, then maybe it is.
I don't know. You know, I'm not saying you're wrong. I think it's very hard, you know, because the workmates, you'll see that sometimes where they're like horses that work together and one of them's really good and then the other one's in and I ask the trainer, he says, nah, he's no good. He's just his workmate. And it seems to be more of, now I'm not saying that's not the case here. I don't know. I'd love to see some data on that. And I guess there aren't workout reports yet for Saratoga. Probably
No,
not.
there were the usual letters of B, B, B.
Oh, there were?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So I wonder if
Not
there are
that
any
those
for
matter,
these
but-
now. No, they do matter.
Well,
I
when you give
respect
everyone
those.
the same grade,
What about the
No.
5 though? Accidental Bid, the first for Jeremiah Englehart, that cost $375,000. And Nyquist, and this horse is at least half to a few foals that could run.
Yes.
Whereas Tin Bar's the first foal. The dam was actually pretty good, and obviously it's an Arrogate.
yes, and I like the Arrogate starting going a little bit longer. The second dam was very precocious, so I like having that early win pedigree on the dam side as well. She won her first 2 starts as a 2-year-old by her in the 80s, winning that sorority at Monmouth. And it's not a good stat for Bill Mott starting first-time starters in dirt routes.
We should move on. We're going to run out of time. Yes, if this horse is as good as timeout, he'll win this race. Race, I'll believe that when I see it. Race number 2, they're going a mile in here in race number 2. And we'll start with Dark Devil and Mr. Papa Giorgio. I think Mr. Papa Giorgio is 2 pads off. I guess got an email about that. Let me make sure I have that clear. Hang on a second.
Aluminum pads?
2 bar shoes off on Mr. Papa Giorgio, so that should be mentioned. Now, he ran poorly just running 8 days ago, but obviously he was way over his head in his last start, and so I can't hold that against him. I don't have a real problem with these horses. I just kind of wanted other horses in this race, Sarah.
Right, and he has to get out of the gate a little bit quicker, doesn't he? I mean, he's run well in his first 2 starts.
Mr. Papa Giorgio.
Yes, against reasonable company relative to what we've seen from him so far. I get that he was stepped up beyond his scope last time out, and you can understand them dropping back in.
And now 8 days later, coming back down
And I don't
here.
love that, and he just has no early speed that he's shown us so far. I think he overcame a lot first time out, but I just don't know.
I thought that Jose was a little overconfident in Dark Devil last time. I don't think he was going to win. I thought he was a little overconfident. I think he kind of thought he was going to beat Aaliyah Lee at any time. We both picked Get It to Matthew. Go ahead.
Isn't he just going to be the horse that is dropping class, adding the blinkers, likely the speed, who got...
He's definitely the horse adding blinkers and dropping in class. He's not going to be that.
Okay.
He is that horse. And he does look like
Let's
the
make
speed.
sure.
He does look like the speed. 2 are absolutes. 1 does appear
One
to be
is
the
a
case.
suspect.
Yes.
but likely. And that's, I think, why both of us are a little bit interested in this horse, who got into a pretty serious pace duel in his first start against better company. The pace was coming apart with Armor of Cat Claw in that race as well. Both of them faded pretty significantly. I don't know that this horse is really all that good or wants to go this distance, but having that speed, adding the blinkers with a little bit of class relief, if he doesn't get into a duel like he did last time, I thought that he could wire the
He's
field.
supposed to be clear of these horses. I agree with you, and I agree with everything you said. I also think riders stayed off the rail that day. I don't have any conclusive evidence the rail was bad, but he was down on the inside. I'm a little interested in Remember the Chief is the other horse who does make a barn change. He's coming out of a race against significantly better horses. And I actually thought he ran okay in his debut. So I thought he was a little interesting dropping in for a tag as well. So I was going to use 4s and 1s. I'm not against the 5. I tried the 5 last time, and I feel like he should have won last time, but obviously he's kind of the horse to beat in here, the logical horse.
I agree.
Race number 3 is Off the Turf. There's some scratches in here. I'm going to have to ask Ray and TT why they scratched Catskill Humor and Highway Harmony.
I was thinking about that.
They look pretty good to me. I don't know. I think, one of the things to discuss about in this race is the 11, Blenheim Baby. And it's funny, I don't know that one is relevant to the other, but that horse that Linda Rice had yesterday, the 7 horse, and I think like the 4th race, TT won it with the Pratt came through horses, Refuel was 2nd.
Yep.
She claimed that horse from Eddie Keneally and has not done well with that horse. This one she claimed from Eddie as well, and kind of wonder if this one doesn't run well, if she's going to stop claiming from Eddie Keneally. And the thing about this horse is, we both got him 2nd, maybe because we scratched into him with logicals coming out. This horse has to improve for Linda, and I think Linda's great, but Eddie Keneally is a tough guy to improve on.
And also, how is this horse's dirt form so significantly better than the horse that you and I gravitated to put on top, as well as some of the other horses that scratched? Yes, we scratched into
You mean
this
the
horse.
horses that should be running that
Yes,
scratched? Yeah,
yes, the
good move,
horses
guys.
that have good dirt form that should have been in this race. But I get that this horse is going to take some money first off the claim.
And may win.
Yes.
I'm not throwing it out. I'm just saying.
This just isn't a horse that I can pick on top.
I'll put it this way. I don't know how the prices are going to go in here. And I'm not absolutely saying that our horse won't be favored in here. But it feels as though, based on the races, and the figs are very similar, but I preferred Next on Stage as well. It's not a brilliant pick. And it just feels like if one of the others win besides the 3 and 11, it's a bit of a crapshoot, right?
Right, exactly. And you're not really going to maybe get what price you should because of the scratched down field and some of these horses having those dirt races to go back to. So I don't know who you really hold and hang your hat on in this field outside of those two with the overall form that they bring into this race, at least on this surface.
I mean, the 3 or 11 are supposed to win this race, and I think we're overcomplicating it by saying, listen, if you have some other idea, have at it. You'll get paid on it in the pick 5. Race number 4. We'll take a look at Reynolds Channel for my good buddy Lee Einseidler. And this is his race 2 back at Keeneland. And if this horse is able to run back to his race 2 and 3 back, and Military Road is able to run his race he runs every time, they're going to probably battle down to the wire. The problem is that Military Road has had 4 chances and is getting tiresome. Though he lost a horse that has a chance to be a very good horse. And I know Chad Brown's very high on Unmatched Wisdom. But Reynolds Channel, yeah, he ran terrific here, and he allowed that horse that finally won Unlimited Potential. I think he was the other half of that entry with Expressman at Saratoga 2 years ago when he ran the 107 buyer. I think
Unlimited Potential
he was the one they liked. He was the one they liked, and he ran. I think he ran a distant second.
Yeah.
But and I remember. I think it's him. I remember talking to Ira in the winner's circle. He got just completely dusted by Expressman, who didn't turn out to be very good. And I saw Irad, and I said, "I'm sorry, weren't you riding the one that was supposed to be the best one?" He said, "It's what I thought." But
it's funny how things work out.
What do you do with Reynolds Channel of his last race? I mean, I remember Lee Einstein asked me about it. I was walking uptown and asked me, like, "What do you think? Do you look at my horse at Churchill?" And I looked at the race. I said, "Lee, he's going to be 1-9 in there. How can he possibly lose?"
He was bad.
Pitiful.
He was bad.
Pitiful.
And that significant regression, and I remember Lee saying that he liked this horse first time out, which he says about many of his horses. And
No. Correction, Sarah. He says
them.
about all of them. Let's just be clear.
And sometimes he's very
Many
correct.
is one letter too many in a few different letters.
But, I mean, the second race, the third race, both of them put him in the mix, obviously. But looking at that last race, I know that he pulled a little bit, but he was supposed to get the job done. And to not even hit the board.
Was Louis a little bit under-aggressive with him? Should he have been a little more aggressive? Is that why he ended up pulling on him? It's not like he's a horse that's been a big speedball, but maybe he needs to be more forward. And I kind of wonder a little bit, and obviously Foxhole rates to go the lead from the rail.
Right.
But I think you're going to see Johnny trying to sit right off of that one, and maybe if he's in a more forward position, he can run his better race. Whether or not he wins or not, I don't know.
Maybe. And I didn't like some of the greenness he was showing in that third start either, because he was lugging in on the eventual winner of that race as well. And he's had some experience.
He's starting to look like a horse that doesn't want to pass.
Right. He should be a little less green. I know they're adding the blinkers. Maybe he can be more forward. Or sorry, they're not. That's timeout. But I do like John Velasquez getting on.
And maybe Military Road is a horse that's just been a little unlucky. He ran in Limited Potential, he ran in Top Connor, ran in Conquest Warrior. And maybe he's just, but man, when you start piling up 4 straight seconds, but every race he runs is a good fig.
Yes.
So, and I'm curious, I want to see horses run back to that figure, because the only horse to come out of the race was the 3rd place finisher who bombed in that maiden race that we talked about earlier that Centennial won.
Yeah.
But I don't, the Saratoga track, a little goofy for closers. Mm-hmm. I wish I was fully confident that Timeout was going to be a 1 1/8 horse, because I just don't know, because he did get a big fast pace last time and he kind of flattened out. My problem is, I think like you, I can't pick Reynolds Channel or Military Road on top.
Exactly.
So it kind of becomes the only horse I can pick because at least he's a little bit underexposed maybe.
Right, and they are adding blinkers. Maybe they want him to get a little bit more involved in the races early, because he was pretty far back.
As he should in a 1 1/8 race.
And I get that first time out, he got out of the gate a little bit slowly. He has been working well coming into this race. He did take a slight step forward, stretching out from the 7 furlongs to a mile, and that was a solid field that he ran into in his last start on the Kentucky Derby weekend.
But the winner closed too. He came from 7th. So I'm not.
Yeah.
I know I picked
I don't know.
him.
I'm just tired of the other two a little bit.
That's really what it comes down to. I mean, I wish Original Idea had shown something first time out, because second time starters stretching out in the dirt in maiden races. Sugar's 11 for 35, 23 hitting the board and a 255 ROI. But this horse, I
Did
mean,
nothing.
it was 20-1 and ran like 40-1. To be fair, he comes out of a sprint. There was won by a horse that's very promising for Tom Morley and Donegal. And Foxhole, I mean, he's the speed,
chances
but
they're piling up.
just a short price every time, and he just doesn't really do anything.
Right.
And he lost that off the turf race first time.
That's not the best. I mean, when you have connections like this that take money, when you have Ira Ortiz
supposed to win.
Jr. and Todd Pletcher and off the turf and favored, you're supposed to do better.
I don't disagree at all. We'll see what happens in race 4 at a mile and an eighth. It does feel like at least a reasonably talented bunch. Race number 5. What do you do with Jackson's Dixie, who's the favorite in this race? I feel like there's an argument that the rail may have been good, at least early in the day on that card. And other than that race, where is her race that makes her the horse to beat in this race? And at a short price, I don't know about you, Sarah. I know she's the main speed on paper. I just want to see it again.
I do too, and I think that rail aided victory, you can really see that.
Perhaps rail aided.
Perhaps, but
theoretically rail aided.
But in the margin of victory, to be a little bit more exaggerated, I think that's oftentimes more indicative of some sort of bias than just a horse that it was able to save that ground and get through on the rail. And
to be fair to her, this is one of the reasons I thought the rail might be good, the race this horse ran.
And that was her best Buyer speed figure, 79. It's not as though she'd never run something in the 70s before, but that was one time, and she's just overall not that horse. When you look at all of her races in full in terms of what she's been able to produce on the racetrack, they're not that fast.
And I know the pace projector has Kara's time a couple lengths behind her. I don't see it. I don't see it. Eric has got to be aggressive with this horse. He was unaggressive last time, and it was a disaster. Now, maybe she got good last fall, and it was an aberration, and she's not going to be that horse again. But Eric has got to come out running on this filly, right?
And I think that she was one of those horses that maybe made it seem like that one victory over that sloppy sealed track.
But it's not true. She ran 3 good races.
I know. But at first, it might have seemed like a
Right.
one-off because where did that race come from? But she backed it up. And backed it up against some pretty good company for New York breds. I mean, My Main Squeeze, we've seen what she can do against Open
Tricky
now.
Temper came back and ran a very respectable third up in the Bowery in Saratoga. I agree with you. I got her second. I think she's a huge player here.
Right, and I like that she's been able to be forward in races that are either sprinting or routing, showing that she can have more of that sprint speed if necessary.
And I know I pick on Eric a lot, and I do, but one of the reasons is he's a good front-end rider.
Yes.
When Eric's aggressive,
when
good
he's
things
committed,
happen for him.
it happens.
And it's when and I know he has some wins where he makes these dramatic closes, but he's a better rider when he's forward. And I think this horse is supposed to be forward. And also, I look at this race, all right, maybe Velosa's going to win. I don't know. That was it's like they knew that Newsley wasn't going to win last time. And, to be fair, maybe she really is improving. I kind of want to see it against better horses, but maybe I underrate her. The other two don't seem fast enough. And Athena Beach got very lucky to win last time out. And I also see her as sort of chasing. Now, as far as Gone and Forgotten, we'll take a look at the video of her race. I think 2 back, she was second. She did get a very fast pace in this race, and she obviously doesn't rate. Look at Eric. Eric's making a little cameo appearance down at Monmouth.
Yeah, did you see that shirt earlier today?
I think he stole it from Jonathan.
He did.
So I know she's a little bit pace dependent, and I absolutely think that's the reason that she's vulnerable in here. But last time out, she actually ran pretty well, I thought, at Delaware, and I don't think she's a 2-turn mile type horse.
No,
I think less distance is better for her because she basically hung last time. I actually thought she ran very well in that race first time for Rick. And fast pace or not, if she can run back to this race, I preferred her. I don't have a problem with Kara's time. I'm with you, trying to beat the 4 and using the 6 and 7.
Right, and I think this is the last spot on today's card where we really see things eye to eye and agree. So I enjoyed it for what it was.
How disappointing that is. But at least we get to see, you don't get to see him, but we get to see Eric Donovan in that
Testing.
horrible shirt that he's wearing there. I even text him on that. And fashion
Got
police
to see it in real life this
might
morning.
be making an arrest down in Oceanport. Anyhow, we'll be back after a quick break.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. make every day exquisite.
Welcome back to Talking Horses. Sarah and Andy. You can figure out which one's which.
Can they?
Pick six starts here, 35,882, I believe, is the carryover amount. There it is. Look at that.
Amazing.
And and it starts out with a favorite for Klarovich. And we'll start with that horse, Unit Economics. And I'm getting a little sick and tired of this horse. You know, he should have won his debut. We'll go to that replay last time at Keeneland. He should have won his debut through no fault of Tyler's. He got completely left. He had a slow pace. He really was best that day. And yes, I bet him. But I don't know what his massive excuse is. The other thing I don't really understand is why is he so slow? And I think that's a question with Irad. Can Irad find a way to get him more in the game? I do think in some ways he's the horse to beat. But I'm sorry, these Chad Brown horses that are supposed to win, that pile up losses, we'll give him a pass in his first race. Yeah, everything didn't go perfectly in the other two, but he should have won last time. He had dead aim.
He did. He should have gone by that other horse, and I liked the other horse, Relampago Verde, and that horse got the easiest of trips on the front end.
He did,
saving
but this horse still should have passed him.
Yes, if this horse was really going
That
to go
good, he would have
by,
passed him.
He would have
Right.
gone by that
Most
horse.
Chad Brown good horses would have gone by.
And it's not as though he was so far back. Now, he got out of the gate a little bit slowly in his second start. He didn't break at all first time out. He wasn't favored. Everything went wrong for him in his first start. It was at Gulfstream during a time where Chad Brown was not winning every race at Gulfstream.
And he's running a lot of garbagey horses, so.
There was also that. But I don't have the excuse for last time, and that's what really bothers me about him.
Okay, we're going to show Then and Storm Ready. And while I have Then over Storm Ready in here, why are we really supposed to like Then so much? I know he broke a little slowly in this race. I'll give him that. But this race completely fell apart. He made this big move, and then Storm Ready just swallowed him up in the stretch.
I think for me it's because he didn't save as much ground throughout.
That's fair.
Storm Ready did
fair.
outclose him, did swing wide.
I mean, he did save ground the first turn, but he didn't save as much ground the second turn.
Right, and is it that much of a difference? I don't know.
No, it's some. That's fair.
But I thought that there was at least some argument to that, and I thought that he would at least project to save more ground today than he did in his first start if he gets out of the gate. And he also has a little bit of pedigree. You know, Hafta du Jour, one of the only good turf horses for Bob Baffert, who I actually like quite a bit.
He's a good horse.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. No, I've got nothing against him. I would use him in this race as well. I would use Storm Ready. Listen, I think Storm Ready is a very interesting horse and dangerous in here. I like Quando. I like Quando even with Coast Along in this race. So, you know, when I look at that last race, I look at a race that just completely incinerated.
Yeah.
So I'm immediately going to look and see the speeds and, you know, look at how badly Coast Along ran, and maybe he's falling apart or something. I think he ran extremely well when you consider it. It's far and away the best race, in my opinion, he's ever run. And now he projects to be the main speed in this race. And so I just thought he was a dangerous horse to wire the field. I don't really have any problems with Then, Unit Economics, and Storm Ready. I just want to try to wire the field with Quando.
Fair enough. I mean, he has the speed, that's for sure.
See what happens in this race. Direct Channel does get in off the AEs for Rick Dutrow. It does not have a gigantic amount of turf pedigree, at least on the dam side. Is an Uncle Mo, so there's some turf, but not really. So the seventh race features the debut of the Full to Fierceness Mentee.
Yes.
And so, which is the better one? The one that Irad's riding, but Johnny then again probably rates to ride the Full to Fierceness, right?
I mean, I guess Irad rode Fierceness on debut, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
I don't think he's really regretting not being on the horse at this point.
I think he's okay.
On the other hand, this is the only foal that could run, was Fierceness. Now this
And
one's
really
a
made it
foal-
to the
foal.
racetrack.
And yeah, and I just, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to think. I suppose they can win.
Mm-hmm.
I went in a slightly different direction, and you've sucked up to Lee.
I originally liked Faster Gator a little bit.
Is that because you know that Lee is bringing sandwiches?
Is he bringing sandwiches?
Lee always brings sandwiches.
Well-
You'll be on the air, so you're screwed.
Save me one. mean, come on. If T-Craft wins, I demand a sandwich. But look, this horse has that win early pedigree, that precocity. 4 of the foals were able to win first time out. Some of them on the grass, some of them not on the dirt. But this main sibling that people will know is Straight No Chaser, who was able to take that turf form and translate it to running very fast numbers on the dirt. And yes, the trip last time was so against him, but he ran okay to still hold on. And
There was also a half to 6 horses that weren't very good.
but winner's first time out.
Okay. No, listen. Lee has been Lee on the
Does
wine
Lee like this
wine
horse?
meter. The amount of whining he did to me. There was no maiden race in Saratoga for 2-year-olds. Would be very high. He whines so much about whining at this horse in Saratoga. If he doesn't run well, I may have a sandwich for you, and I'm going to pick it up and beat him over the head with it.
A knuckle sandwich?
He likes this horse, but he always likes his horses, and I think this may be a relatively tough race. And listen, I'm not going to be surprised when one or both of the Rapoli Pletcher entry can run. I'm not going to be surprised when T-Craft can run like you. I've got him in there as well, but I'm going to take George Weaver's 2-year-olds. You know, we've seen him run one so far, and the horse had a bit of a trip, and he won his next start. I don't think that horse is any kind of killer, but I've just seen too many horses from George 2-year-olds over the last couple of years just seem to be monsters first time out. So I'm just going to stick with what seems to have worked recently, and why not take a Vekoma? Is this the first Vekoma we're seeing here?
No, it might be
Here?
the first one we're seeing here,
Right.
but it's not the first one overall.
No,
and
no.
4 out of 5 won on debut so far.
Wow.
And I think that George Weaver has a little bit of experience with Vekoma.
And this horses seem to run. Ravenite is a complexity. It's a filly running against the boys, and I think there's a couple fillies. Magical Bet is a filly as well. I think that's the only other filly.
Yep.
Ravenite, but you know, this is a complexity. They had a very good complexity complexion who got a 77 buyer yesterday, the half to Jack Christopher.
Man, she looks just like him, doesn't she?
This one's turf though, and I mean, a couple of horses were more routers from the dam, but obviously complexity gives sprint. We'll see what happens. He's been doing well as a first
Yeah,
time starter.
absolutely. Very off to a hot start for sure.
Fun race. Looking forward to seeing more and more of these 2-year-olds as we get closer to Saratoga and then into Saratoga. Race number 8. I'm not trying to beat Marco T in this race. We'll take a look at his maiden win 2 back, and I don't think he ran great last time. I won't argue that. He was also coming back into a stake race off of maiden win 10 days later, and if he runs this race, I just think they're probably all running for second. I'm not saying he has to win, but I looked long and hard and decided I wouldn't try to beat him.
Which is completely fair. I mean, this horse
you.
was running similar numbers as a 2-year-old. What I don't necessarily love is that this horse hasn't taken that step forward majorly from 2 to 3. A little bit of improvement, but not
I
necessarily.
thought this was real improvement.
But I mean, how much of a jump did this horse really make?
Reasonable. Three lengths. I don't know. Seemed
Yeah.
better to me. I don't
I mean,
know.
the last race, okay, that was a tough field. You can
Yeah,
easily
coming back in
excuse-
10 days, I'm not going to make a big deal out of that race. I prefer him, but we'll see what happens.
her.
So what's the story with Unicorn Cake?
This horse does not have overwhelming turf pedigree to be making this surface switch. It's a little bit more synth and dirt than turf, but there is some turf going on. I like this horse cutting back in distance, and I've just always felt that this one has more of a turf turn of foot on the dirt. It's more of that higher knee action turf mover. And looking to very specific stats for Engelhart, it's 3 for 15, 20%, $2.01 ROI, first time turf, dirt to turf, non-maintenance allowance and sprinting. So if you get really, really specific in the stats, when that happens, he's able to make this move successfully. And just, this is literally just a visual type of play.
Okay, she'll be 50-1. Good luck. Act of Congress coming back, and on the outside, we'll take a look at her race last June. Is she the speed of the speed, and can she clear? You know, she's got post 10 now with a couple of scratches, and is she faster? Isn't Super's Lucky Lady, who I do want to talk about as well, and Stolen Future. I don't know what to say, but she does have some figs. Now, that was a 5 furlong fig 2 races back, and I think she's going to have to run better than this race if she's going to win today, especially given her post, the layoff, and the other speeds in here.
Right, and coming back into this race that we're taking a look at now, it was that question of whether or not she was going to replicate the prior effort, that 84 Beyer speed figure at Pimlico, and she won, but she didn't. She took that little bit of that step backwards, and we haven't seen her since. And something that you point out quite a bit is not liking a layoff off of a win and coming back. And now she has a tough post to deal with as well, and potentially other speed. She could be good, but I don't know that she's towering above.
She's
good.
obviously got a lot of issues given her light workload over for a 5-year-old. I think Super's Lucky Lady, a horse we both have third, is dangerous. We'll take a look at her maiden win because I know she was in that race with the pace held together in her second start and sort of a random distance race, but I think she's a sprinter, and she ran well to beat Shaman Princess, unfortunately, this day, and Shaman Princess did come back to win. The question with her is, she showed the ability to rate, and I think she's very dangerous in here, getting back on the turf sprinting, because this is really what she wants to do.
Absolutely, and I think that dirt start really proves that she would rather be a turf horse overall. I like that she is getting a little bit less distance to work with. We've seen that be successful for her, even though she could stretch out a bit and still run well. And she's just more underexposed than a lot of other horses in this race who getting a little bit tired of or haven't really seen much from on the turf.
When is Graham going to run better? Today is the day to put up or shut up. At least it's second off a layoff, and she is supposed to get some pace in here, but she's going to have.
On?
Well,
No.
and she's got to really improve to beat her stablemate in Marco T. So I don't really see it. I don't really like the others. Mim, I was teasing David Aragona. I said I didn't pick Mim in here on top because I figured you'd like her because she's one of his pets. But I think she's a lot more interesting than she may look immediately. What is she doing going long? This is not a horse that wants to go long. And she actually ran respectably enough with that runoff 2 races back to be competitive in this race. And I know it's a 59 buyer when she broke her maiden, but that was last year. And she got close to a 60. And the race she ran 2 back, when you couple that with the fact that she would...
Losing
Somebody's
things.
trying to tell me something.
It's a sign.
A lot of signs around here. Couple that with the fact that she's really more of a sprinter and she ran well enough 2 back. I think she's the interesting price in here. So I'll probably bet a couple bucks to win on her, but mostly focus on a 10-2, and I'll use the 1 a little bit.
And she definitely had an excuse to back. That was
she
crazy.
just ran off. Yeah. And then last time out, what was she doing in there? She had a bit of a start. So thought she was a little interesting turning back. It's a fun race.
Yep.
Race number 8. Race number 9. I don't like this race. I was going to bet the
doesn't like
7.
you either.
Well, I was going to bet the 7 Greek Order. So when that horse scratches, I was going to change my picks. The problem is, if Ballooney wasn't in here, my second pick is the 1A, I think, actually. I would have picked the 1A because I feel like the 1A needed its last race, could be aggressive. This is Ocean Atlantique and Ballooney, where I feel as though Ocean Atlantique got a poor ride last time by Luis Saez. This horse's weapon is the speed.
Yep.
And John Velasquez is going to go with this horse. Now, maybe Call Me Harry is quicker, and that's a problem.
Yes.
And Call Me Harry was totally dead on the board. It's like they just knew he had no chance. And now he's second off a layoff, and I think he's really interesting. But he's coupled with Ballooney, who's
Scared of
really
him.
kind of a bum. It's not that good, and
Right.
he's going to be a short price, and his entry mate is
He
in
was
there.
already going
So
to be a
Call
short
Me
price.
Harry interests me, but I'm not taking him getting tagged along by Ballooney. Not that Ballooney can't win, but I don't need 2-1 or 8-5 on him when he'd be like 9-2 on his own.
Right.
So that's why I stuck with the 4 here because, Ruse got a perfect trip last time. I wish David good luck. Aragona likes magical ways. I don't
Okay.
see it, but he is a closer, and there is some pace in here. And Con Man, maybe second off a layoff, will run better. And we'll take a look at your horse, Dude in Colorado. What kind of trip do you imagine him getting in here? That's what concerns me
And that's
because
a-
he's a forward horse.
And that's a valid concern to have, especially with Call Me Harry coming into this race, another horse who, when he's been able to control, he's been very effective and have that forward position. And so that concerns me a little bit more now that this horse is in the race. But when you look at the races that this horse ran in, when he was in the Todd Pletcher barn, he was facing some of the better turf male 3-year-olds at that time and sort of keeping up with them. He wasn't doing better than them, but he was keeping pace with horses that was a strong class of last year of those male 3-year-old horses. And relative to what he has faced in the past, now coming in second off that layoff, obviously showing that he can run for Mike Maker and still do some running. And Evan Harlan, who beat him, I know he was a huge price that day, but he's not a terrible horse that ran him down.
Yeah, my problem, listen, I'm not going to knock any horse in this race because I find this race somewhat inscrutable, to be honest with you. I sort of settled on, I'm going to hope Greek Order decides to show up and hope for the best and close my eyes, and he's not going to play. I don't like the field he comes out of, to be honest. I don't love that race, but I'm not going to, I wouldn't knock any pick in this race, and I think, in general, if you pick Vacation Dance, I'd wish you luck. And I just think this is one where Call Me Harry being part of an entry is really annoying.
Yes,
Because
it's a
I would like to pick him in here, but I cannot recommend anybody bet him and be carried
With
along.
Ballooney.
Who may still win the race.
Right.
But a Ballooney wins at a short price.
No, thank you.
Have him. He's all yours. And it's a different situation, pick 6. So this Bed of Roses is just a great race. And
Full field.
Dave Rennig had pointed out to me a couple of days ago, we got 9 in the last 2 runnings of the Bed of Roses combined, and now we've got 10 here. And I don't think there's a single horse, and we've moved on to race number 10, guys, that can't win this race.
I agree with
I
you.
mean, I'm not saying we like Apple Picker per se, but she won
Isn't
the
she a
Barbara
little
Frenchie.
interesting?
She's no bum. I mean, she's
John Velasquez
she's
getting
okay.
on?
Yeah, I don't think there's any filler in this race.
I agree.
So I'm, now we'll start out by looking at Flying Connection, and I guess she is kind of the horse to beat, even though neither one of us is particularly interested in betting on her.
I think that's where we agree.
Well, no, I don't think we disagree about this race. I think we just went in some different directions. I wouldn't knock picks in this race. I wouldn't knock you if you picked this horse, to be honest, because she did get beaten by a couple lengths by clearly the two best horse in this division. But she did kind of suck up at the end. Behind them as the race falling apart. She was a turn back last time from 2 turns to 1 turn. And I also kind of want to see her take her act to New York. But she does get Rob Atras. And the other argument for her is maybe she's just getting her act together and turning it around, and she's just going to be faster than these.
And it's a complete possibility that she has just improved over her last 2 races. And when you think about the company that she was keeping, finishing second to Adair Manor,
Yep.
then finishing third behind Vava and Alva Star, as you say, leaders of this sprint division.
Right, she's got the 3 leaders of their divisions really in front of her.
She does. However, the prices that she was in those last 2 starts versus the price that she's going to be today, and I'm not convinced as of yet that she really prefers going the 7 furlongs versus getting a little bit more ground to work with. Now, that last race was a high number. She could just be improving.
Well, let's say something else. Does she rate to get the kind of pace today that she got
No,
last time?
I don't
That's
think
the other
so.
thing. And obviously you don't feel that way because you picked this horse, Leave No Trace.
Right, and this horse needs to take a little bit
You can
of
show
a
the replay. That was
step
like
up.
a segue if we were.
I got it.
Eddie would have been
Eddie
on
knows
that.
that
No, Eddie's not there. But Eddie would have been on that.
Well, not everyone knows all of your
My
all of your-
idiocies?
Yes,
Anyhow.
idiosyncrasies. Look, she needs to take a little bit of a step up from a speed, a figure standpoint. But what has she done wrong since getting back to what she's been capable of doing?
I agree with that. But I think, she's got Beguine outside of her who has speed. And I also feel like this was a fairly speed-friendly track. And I think that helped her along, and I think it hurt Big Pond. So of the 2, I prefer Big Pond because I prefer the horse who may have been a little bit against it. She got a great ride from Junior last time.
Well,
I mean, you can see it up there. I'm going to take Big Pond. I feel like there may be some horses in this race that are a little faster than those horses.
With that logic, shouldn't you be looking at Hot Fudge too?
I don't like Hot Fudge. I think that her form has declined, and I think the racing
But
has
didn't
gotten
she run
tougher.
pretty well last time?
She ran fine, but I think that Big Pond is probably just a better horse than her. I think she ran a lot better than Hot Fudge did last time. I'm not in love with that race. Listen, I like Just Catherine. I'm
like you
very
and I
clear on
both like
her.
this
I
horse at
like
some
the
point.
turn back on her. I think this is a very interesting turning back. And I think people may be a little bit blinded by her PPs. Okay, she stunk last time. She failed to show up. That was the race where there was absolutely no pace. She never had a chance. Her prior race is good enough to make her a contender. Her Comely, not quite good enough. But how about those races up in Saratoga? The 92 buyer beating Raging Sea. Probably Raging Sea ran a little better than she did because Raging Sea had the outside post, she had the inside trip, but the second to randomized. How does that come up? She ran a very respectable race behind her, and that was a 1.5 turn race. I like the turn back. I like her coming back. And listen, I don't know what price she's going to be in here. I don't know if we're getting 10 to 1 or 6 to 1 or 12 to 1, but she's got figures that are fast enough to win this. I mean, she is one horse in this race that has run a few mid-90 figures, and there aren't a lot of horses that have run those figures.
Which is completely true. And I think that looking at that company that she was keeping around this time last year, you obviously have to respect it, given what some of those horses have gone on to do. I wonder if she's really going to appreciate the 7 furlongs more so than some of those mile and the 16th races. I think that that's a fair
I love a
thing
turn back.
to wonder.
I can't resist them. What about the Chad Brown horses starting with a seed? I mean, a seed feels like one of these horses that we just keep waiting and waiting and waiting.
If you look at that
And
close-up
do
of
we
the
really need a
shirt.
close-up? Look at Eric. He's one handsome man.
He's reading those past performances diligently.
She did beat Amoretti, but would you like Amoretti in this race?
No, absolutely
And
not.
she's going to have to get faster. To be fair, though, She ran a respectable race last year in the 8 bells and ran an 88 Beyer in her second start.
Yes.
So if she improves and runs a mid-90 figure, you're not going to be shocked. But doesn't she feel like a horse that's always going to be about a point or two lower than you want to take, especially with IRAD riding? The IRAD Chad factor, she's just going to be an underlay. Not that she can't win.
Right, and for me, that was exactly it with her, that the price will not be good enough to find out if she's really capable of stepping up to this level of competition. Maybe she's a horse that is that lightly raced type, does take that step forward. I liked that effort in the 8 bells behind some decent horses at that time, Red Carpet Ready, Money's Gold, but again, where is that race relative to this? She still needs a step
Right,
forward.
she has not shown that she's been able to go, but at least her last race is a sign of going in the right direction. But I agree, she's going to have to put up or shut up. And I don't really feel like, I don't think she's going to be 6-1. I just don't see, she's got that Juddmonte sex appeal going for her with IRAD and Chad. I feel like people are going to go for her. 6-1, I wouldn't argue against them. 4-1, I wouldn't be thrilled. What about Morning Matcha? I mean, why can't she win this race? She's 12-1, second longest shot on the board. She's running. I mean, she's a horse that's run figures in the 90s, and throw out Butch Reed at your own, at your own peril. I mean, these horses just always seem to show up.
Right, and I get that maybe her last couple of races have not been some of her absolute fastest, but they've both been victories, and one was off the layoff. Now she's second off the layoff, and when you look back at some of those races that she's had, even here, Beyers in the low 90s, Beyers in the mid 90s, and that could just be faster.
Like Just Catherine, she's one of the horses that has those
the
races
numbers
that
to
are
go back
fast
to.
enough. I mean, I'm not even going to count Sheeta Beauty. Yeah, she was sort of sucking up for a piece last time, but sucking up
Hasn't
a piece
she
behind
improved?
randomized. Oh, she's clearly improved, and I think 7 is perfect for her. Absolutely perfect for her. This is a great race. This really is a super, super fun race.
It is, and we don't often see stakes races like this where quite literally everyone could win this
No,
race.
there is not a bad horse. I mean, Beguine, what made Beguine need the race last
Doesn't
time, and she
Beguine have
wires
the
the field.
fastest number of all
Yeah.
back on the page?
So this is a really, really fun race. Looking forward to this race. So race number 11, the only thing Sarah and I need to do is bet against Fancy Pants Juliana, because she's one of those
I was,
great picks you made. We'll look at her last
Surprised
race.
that you wanted to live this again.
Well, we both liked her last time. And, this was one, I'll tell you something. This was one of those picks where I don't think we were as smart as the rest of the public was dumb. I mean, you know what I mean?
float up was nice.
This horse should not have been 20-1. This horse should have been 8-1 in here. Much like that horse that won the 7th race yesterday. That horse should have paid $19 or $21, not $50. Sometimes horses just get lost in races. And it doesn't mean they're necessarily brilliant picks as much as, because we both saw the same thing. This horse had run well in her first 2 sprints.
That's how you know it's not brilliant.
No, but I mean, it was obvious. It's sitting on the
Yes,
page. It's
of
like this
course.
was an incredibly mishandled horse that should have been sprinting on the turf her entire career, and she wasn't. But we missed the chance. She ran great last time, but I don't even know if she'll be 9-2. I don't want $7 on her today, or $9.
No,
even.
absolutely not. And maybe she shouldn't have been the price that she was last time, but I don't want under 10-1 on a horse that still needs to get a little bit faster.
I agree.
And I remember last time saying to you, if you took out those dirt races and you just had those 2 turf starts, wouldn't she be an extremely short price in that
No,
last
not
race?
a super short price, but she would have been the 5 or 6-1. She probably should have been.
Right.
Once again, I just think this was a horse that the public missed,
It
and
was
it's
time
hard
to
to find
capitalize,
those horses.
and we've missed it.
So good luck to you, and you should be dancing, but I do like her owner, so I'll root for Adam.
Okay, well, thankfully she has that in her corner. I mean, I don't know. Should this horse really be 10-1? She has those turf races
She
that
does.
could put her.
She's very
in the hunt.
pace. She's very pace dependent. That's the problem. The contenders in here are horses like Fancy Pants Juliana and Latest Edition, who you have to imagine are going to be reasonably forward. Even Ghost
I was
Bustin'.
just going to say, what about Ghost Bustin'?
Ghost Bustin's very dangerous in here. I think, this horse is a full to time limit who improved dramatically on the turf, and I think this horse could absolutely win this race. So I think that was a dangerous run. I kind of want, I want horses that are more forward here. I could end up being wrong, but that's my biggest problem. I don't disagree with you that You Should Be Dancing has the credentials, and if this race falls apart, she's a massive player in here. But I'm just not sure it's going to. I don't see the pace for it to fall apart. As far as Latest Edition, I thought she ran really well in her 2 races. She got sort of out of position, 2 backs, 3 back, 2 close, 2 back, and then he went to the dirt, and she actually ran okay in the dirt, and now she's on the right surface. Frankly, I thought Latest Edition was just a very moto horse in this race.
Do you really want a horse at a shorter price that has yet to actually cross the wire first?
Yeah, I don't really care about that in this
No?
situation, because I think she's a turf sprinter, and
Okay.
she's only sprinted on the turf twice, and I think both of her races are good enough. That's fine. And can't call it David has as the morning line favorite. I don't get it.
What
supposed to
race
beat
does she
Autumn
have
and
that's so
Soretta.
much better?
Autumn and Soretta.
Soretta is the lifetime maiden.
They couldn't bet enough on her with Frankie Dettori up in Saratoga, could they? So are
Right.
they going to overbet him up in Saratoga this summer?
Instead of
The
Irad,
pressure could be off Irad. They won't be.
especially on the dirt.
Soretta could be. She was like 9-5, wasn't she? Wait,
was
Ray
a
Handel's
ridiculous
checking in.
price.
He's probably got some excuse as to why he didn't run. He's saying,
That
you know,
scratch?
Andy, I haven't bought you guys pizza up to the studio in a while, but I'm going to make up for it. Right, Ray?
Yeah.
Anyway, we're done. Sarah, thank you so much. You need to head over to Naira Bets. How are we doing for time?
We're doing pretty good, I
We're doing
think.
well, yeah. I think we're doing well. All right. I hope Chris Griffin's mic'd right. He's claiming it's the mic.
Well, maybe he's just feeling a little shy. I don't know.
Chris is not shy. $200 match. We'll match the $200 initial deposit. Use match 200 as the promo code, and we will match the $200 initial deposit. Check out track stats when you head over to Naira Bets. Also, we have contest. I think you signed up before the third race. Check that out over at nairabets.com/contests. And we have a carryover, 35,882. Starts at race number 6, our 11 race card. Third pick 5 and race number 4 as well. Cross country pick 5, 4 stakes at Monmouth. The Better Roses here, a smorgasbord of action. And we'll be showing it all on America's Day at the Races. We had a full team down at Monmouth Park, 12:30 to 6:30 at FS2. Thanks again, Sarah. Thank you for watching. And Chris Griffin, we promise he's coming up with a reprise of the Scratches and Changes, unless he's been gagged up there. I don't know, but we're hoping that things are working better up there. Take care. Have a great day.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.